So moving on from 5 to 15, all these questions are based on this diagram, which appears to be complex, but isn't really as bad as it looks like at first glance. There are exactly 7 lines in this picture. We've got 3 lines that are almost vertical here, A, B, and C, and then we've got 3 horizontal lines, D, E, and F, and then we've got sort of a line that's on a slant here, which I'm just going to label G, since it has not been labeled yet. And we've got a number of problems in which we have to determine which lines must be parallel given the information that we're told. And we're also told to justify our answer. So let's look at the first question. The measure of angle 13 equals the measure of angle 12. Okay, so we can identify 13 and 12 as being over here and over here. So let's go ahead and do our usual. Let's figure out which lines are involved in angles 13 and 12. Well, 13 has one of its sides from line F, one of its sides from line B. 12 has one of its sides from line F, and one of its sides from line C. So there are actually only 3 lines involved in making angles 13 and 12. And one of the ways we could see this a little bit clearer is that we could trace this with patty paper, and we don't have to do this all the time, but we can do it sometimes just to kind of clarify what's going on. So this is line F, okay, and this is line B, and this is line C. These are the only lines we care about in this problem. None of the other lines come into play. So let's see what happens when we just look at those particular lines, and let's see if that doesn't make the problem a little bit easier. So this is really what we have to solve. What is the relationship between angles 12 and 13? Okay, and we hope to prove that these 2 lines are parallel. Well, I think you'll agree that when we put it on patty paper and we remove all the other lines that are in the picture, suddenly this is not such a hard problem. And we can see that these are corresponding angles, right? They're both on the upper left side of these intersections. So we can say that the lines that must be parallel, and which 2 lines should be parallel in this case then, are B and C, right? Because F is a transversal. So B is parallel to C, and the reason is because corresponding angles are congruent, which implies that the 2 lines B and C must be parallel. So let's go on to the next question, and we can do a few like this just to sort of clarify the question so that we don't get confused by all the extra lines. Let's look at angles 1 and angle 5. We're told that those 2 angles' measures are equal. Well, we've got so many lines around, let's see if we can eliminate some of them. Angle 1 is this slanted line, which we said we're going to call G, and this line, which is F. So angle 1 is just formed by the intersection of G with F, and then angle 5 is formed by the intersection of line E with line G. So we just have E, G, and F. So let's go ahead and patty paper it, and let's see what we really have got. This is line E. This is line G. This is line F. Okay, and this is angle 1, and this is angle 5. So let's take a look at what this is without all the distractions of all the other lines being around. Well, suddenly this is not such a hard problem, right? I'm hoping that it's obvious that these 2 lines are parallel because angles 1 and angle 5 are alternate interior angles. They are on opposite sides of G. 5 is on the left, 1 is on the right, and they're between lines E and F. And if the measures are equal, then alternate interior angles are congruent, which implies that lines E and F are parallel. So we have line E is parallel to line F because alternate interior angles are congruent. So let's go on to our next question. The measure of angle 7 equals the measure of angle 3. Okay, so those two angles are congruent. Let's find angle 7 and angle 3. Well, angle 7 is over here, angle 3 is over here, and we've got lots of lines in between. But let's narrow this down to only the lines that make up angle 7 and angle 3. So which lines make up angle 7? Line A, and line D. Those are the only two lines that make up angle 7. And which lines make up angle 3? Well, again, we have line D as well as line C. So all we've got is A, D, and C. Those are the only three important lines in this problem. They're the only lines that contribute to making up angles 7 and 3. So let's go ahead and use the patty paper to just draw in lines A, line D, and line C, and label 7 and 3. Okay, and make sure we've labeled A, C, and D. And now let's look at this on a background of white paper, and suddenly this isn't as complicated appearing because we've got two lines which we are going to try to prove parallel, and we've got a transversal which is D, and these are corresponding angles again. If you wish, if you like, we can turn it this way, and you can see that they're corresponding angles. These are two parallel lines now are horizontal, or you could look at them as the two parallel lines being nearly vertical. But any way you look at it, angle 7 and angle 3 are corresponding angles. So we've got line A is parallel to line C because corresponding angles are congruent.